Hello you guys, welcome back. I'm super excited for this video today. I know we're going to read 3 books together, and I'm super excited for this one because they're all books that you guys will be choosing or have already chosen. I have posted on my community tab over the course of the last few weeks a couple of different questions like which book should I read, or like which series should I continue, things like that, and you guys have chosen. So I'm actually reading 2 books right now. One is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This one is, I think, like a dark academia mystery type book, from what I understand. I tried reading the synopsis a couple of times, and honestly I've just seen so many people that I trust give it such good ratings that I figure I'm going to like it. So I'm very excited about this one, and I just started it this morning. I'm only in chapter 2, so I'm still very, very early on. And the second book that I'm currently reading is The Winners, which is the Beartown series by Frederick Bachman. I don't have my phone with me right now, but I've been listening to it as an audiobook. Reason being is I feel like every time I've read those books, they've put me into a little bit of a slump. Like, I really enjoy the books. I think I've given them all 5 stars so far, but this third one is 670 pages and I feel like I'd be put into a slump after it. So I really wanted to have the chance to read it still, and like I'm so excited to finish the series, but I didn't want to be put into a slump, and so I decided that the best thing for me would be to listen to it as an audiobook. And so far I really like the voice actor a lot. So far in that one, we're just kind of getting the setup in like true Frederick Bachman fashion. It's like you get set up, but you also get information about what the story is going to be about. Like, he kind of front loads the story with like, this is not a story about XYZ thing, this is a story about this person and like how they're not going to survive this or whatever. And he always does that, but somehow it still like always kind of not surprises you in the same way of like a true like twist, but surprises you in like a, oh, that's what you meant by that. He's just such a phenomenal writer. I love everything that he writes. So I'm gonna read for a little bit this morning. We're just getting set up so far. Like, I'm just learning who my characters are. I feel like there's a lot of characters, so I'm just kind of like, who is who? There's someone named Wren, like W-R-E-N, and I've only seen that as a male name, and it's a female in here, so I was very confused for like half of a chapter, but I'm getting it. I'm like figuring out where we're at. So I want to get some more reading in this morning before some of my Saturday plans, and I'm excited. I feel like it's gonna be the books that you guys chose are good ones. I'm very excited. The third one too, I'm really excited to read that one. So I just think that overall the 3 books, I'm like chef's kiss. I'm just so excited for this reading video. So let's get into it and let's continue reading, and I'll give you guys all my thoughts along the way. Hello you guys. It has been a second since I last checked in with you on the books that I've been reading, but I wanted to give you a quick update. The first one that I've been listening to on audiobook is The Winners by Frederick Bachman, and this one, both of my books, I'm currently about 20% of the way through, I should preface. This one has been so sad already. I think I might have accidentally looked up a spoiler for myself, which kind of sucks. I'm currently on chapter either 23 or 24, I can't remember, because the audiobook chapters, for whatever reason, are a little bit different than what the actual, let me see, actually I'm on chapter 23. I think if I would have read this one physically, I feel like I probably would have felt like it was a little too slow, just because the story is a longer lead time. We get new characters into the story, which I think is really fun and nice, but again, not remembering where we started because it's been a while since I read the last 2. I think I'm glad I'm listening to it instead. It's just like going a little bit faster, it's capturing my attention a little bit more. I really like the person that's reading it. And already somebody died, which I was like fully not expecting. And Frederick Bachman just does this thing where he tells you up front what's happening, but he doesn't fully explain or like makes you in some way, shape, or form think that something else is happening. So he'll be like talking about somebody, and then that person will pick up the phone and be like, wait, they're dead? And then it goes through multiple chapters of like different people talking about different things. And then in the back of your head, you know that somebody has died. And so then every time you're reading a chapter, you're like, wait, did this person die? And he's just focusing on them because they're about to die? Or are they gonna get on a phone call with someone else who dies? Or are they just gonna get the news that somebody else died? Like, you have no idea how it's actually gonna play out, even though he's in some way told you what has happened already, which is very interesting, and I feel like it's just such a unique way to write a story. So I really, really like it a lot. That's my update on that. For If We Were Villains, I'm also about 20% of the way through this one, like I was saying, and I'm like halfway through one of the chapters. This one is sectioned into acts and then scenes, and I'm almost to act 2. Pretty early on still, but I do feel like I have a good grasp of what's happening in this one. We essentially are following these characters. I think there's somewhere between 6 and 8 of them. I'm forgetting off the top top of my head, but we're following them and they're in this school. It's like kind of like an arts college. It honestly reminds me so much of Secret History. There's just like something weird happening. So essentially where we're at right now is these kids who are in this college. There's different sections of the college. So there's like the arts section and there's like the creative writing section, whatever. And these characters are in the theater section. We're seeing the dynamic between all of these students within the theater school. They're specifically the 4th year students. They're the only ones who've made it through to the 4th year. And we're seeing this dynamic of something is changing within like the statuses of all of the characters, if that makes any sense. Like typically in like any kind of school setting, you have like this person's the leader and then like these are kind of the followers and these are the popular kids and that kind of dynamic. But that dynamic is currently shifting and we don't fully know how it's shifting. Also, the first chapter of this book, you know that one of our main characters is coming out of some kind of prison situation. So I don't know how that plays into all of the rest of it yet because it just basically goes backward into him being in college. So something is going to happen clearly. For that reason, it reminds me so much of Secret History because it basically starts with us knowing that somebody dies and then backtracking all the way to the beginning of like when this kid joins this Greek program and how that can spiral into what ended up happening. I'm liking them both. I think if we were villains, I'm not picking up as much as I thought I was going to for how hyped up it felt online. But I do feel like I'm excited to learn more and I think I will end up liking this one a lot. I just haven't found myself picking it up. But I've also had a pretty busy week, so I don't know, maybe that's why. I'm excited to keep reading and I'm excited to learn more about each of these books and I'm enjoying them so far. I feel like they're both really good picks, so thank you guys for picking them because otherwise I probably honestly would have just continued to put these both off. Hello you guys. It's been a second since I last updated you on If We Were Villains and I feel like I have mixed feelings on this book so far. I think I just like thought that this was going to be an immediate 5-star for me just based off of how other people have talked about this book, and I honestly feel like this is the negative of listening to how hyped up books are online sometimes because I think that this book is fantastic. I don't think that there's necessarily anything wrong with it, but because I thought that it was going to be like this ultra 5-star amazing book, I feel like I'm now being almost like put in a slump a little bit. I know I've said it before already, but it really feels like The Secret History all over again, but in such a way that like, I think what's not gelling for me is for whatever reason, the fact that these students are theater students and they constantly recite lines from like random performances or even like the current play that they're working on. For some reason like that just doesn't work for me. It feels really like forced and I just personally am not myself a theater person. So I don't really know a lot of the backstory for some of the plays that they're like, it's not even that they're like reciting things. It just is like, I feel bad because like everything else about the book has been fantastic, but this particular piece of it feels obnoxious to me. Like they'll be talking about something, they could even be in an extremely serious situation and then they'll just like randomly like say a line from a play. And I don't know why it bothers me so much, but it like really does. And it kind of just like takes me out of the rest of the story. The other parts of the story are very interesting to me. Like it's this idea of all these kids who are going to school together and something happens with one of the students that they go to school with, one of their friends, and then they are kind of like living with what happens next. I'm about 50% of the way through this one, so I'll have to see how the second half of this book plays out before I can even say what I might potentially rate it. If I were to like end the book right now, I would say 3 stars. I have no idea what the second half of this book is gonna be. And then the other book that I'm listening to is The Winners, and I'm gonna be honest, I think this one has been taking me, oh, hi P, gonna join us. There we go. Okay, you won't even see him, but no, he's right here. This one has been taking me a little bit longer, only because it's such a long book and I don't remember how many hours. It was like 21 hours of listening time on like 1x speed. But also I think it's just like, it's a heavier book and I'm not listening to it as often because it's a heavier book. So really I have only been listening to this book when I'm doing long drives, but it's not really like a upbeat book that I'm gonna like listen to while I'm doing my chores. And so I feel like I'm just not picking it up as much. So far, we know that somebody dies, which we learn early on. And we also know that something's gonna happen to another one of our characters. And like, like, again, Frederick Bachman is like very straightforward about telling us that something's gonna happen to a character, but he doesn't necessarily like give you the details as to what. It's more like, this person may not survive this. And it's vague enough where when he says that, it's like, does that mean that the person dies? Or does that mean that like emotionally they die? Like, are they just like so depressed? It's interesting because I really love that Frederick Bachman plays with language in that way. We're just in a really sad spot, honestly, with all of our characters. And I don't think that this book is ever gonna be like an upbeat book. Like, everything has always just been sad. And that's just like how Beartown is. So I'm excited. I think right now, I just got back from work. I went into the office today. So I think I'm going to do a quick workout and then we're gonna read tonight. And that's all we have planned, which I'm very excited for because I feel like I haven't really had many days lately where I just like sit and read. So I kind of want to do that tonight and just read as much as I can. I only have 5 hours left of this, actually, sorry, 5.5 hours left of this book. And I have 6 hours and 51 minutes left at 2 times speed for the winners. I'm excited by what books you guys have chosen because I feel like all of these have been fantastic. Even this one, I know that I've been complaining a little bit about it, but it is a good book and I've been meaning to read it for like literally years. So I'm glad that I'm finally doing it. Hello you guys, it is Saturday today and I want to finish my book this weekend. Specifically, If We Were Villains. I feel like I'm getting put into a bit of a slump. Like, it is a really good book, but I just don't know what it is about it. I feel like it's not like thrillery enough. And even though something really terrible happens to somebody in this book, I just feel like it's not enough for me for some reason. I don't know if it's still just like the little pieces of poetry or like Shakespearean coming out or what, but something about this book is just like not begging me to pick it up. So I think I want to just finish it. I want to get past it. I want to start the next book and I want to be excited about whatever I'm reading. So let's get into it. I am just gonna sit out here with P for a little bit. He's right there. And we're gonna read until it's time to like go do some kind of workout. I have to wait to do my workout because my landlord is coming by in I think like an hour-ish. Kind of works out. I have nothing to do but to read. Hello you guys. I actually ended up finding my audiobook, or sorry, my book that I've been reading physically, which is If We Were Villains. I found it as an audiobook. I didn't realize that Libby had it like already ready to borrow. So I'm actually gonna head off on a run right now. My landlord was supposed to come by, but he's still at Home Depot. So I am just gonna go on my run now. I wanna get it out of the way. I don't want it to be too hot because it is gonna be a warm day today. So I want to do that now. I have about an hour left of listening time and then I can switch back to the winners. Let's get to it. Let's go do the run before I lose steam or like, you know, tell myself that I don't feel like doing it for whatever reason. Sometimes I can convince myself out of doing an exercise. So let's go listen to our audiobook, run, and finish some books. Hello you guys, I wanted to give you an update on my book reading because I ended up finishing If We Were Villains and I think I'm gonna give this one 3 stars. I finished it as the audiobook and I think it was actually perfect that I finished it as an audiobook because I was able to read the last section of it in like an hour while I was running, so that was actually kind of perfect. I feel like this one was hard for me because it reminded me so much of The Secret History, but then in some ways, I don't know if it's because The Secret History had more time because it was a longer book or like what it was about it, but this book just kind of fell a little bit more flat for me. I didn't really love the ending and like how or why our main character ends up in prison. I feel like the tension after like something really bad happens to one of our characters and then after that there's this tension in the book, but the tension is just like almost like not enough for me personally. I do think I would still recommend it. I feel like it's a really good, fun, dark academia book, but definitely not a mystery thriller. Yeah, I think I just thought it was going to be a little bit more mystery thriller vibes than it was. I also was still listening to the winners, but I have like, I think 5 hours left. I want to try to finish this one before I start the next one. I think I can do it. I want to just like put my mind to it this weekend, finish this, and then we can get into the 3rd book, which I'm so excited for. I've seen an overwhelming amount of good ratings, so I'm excited to tell you guys about the 3rd book, but let's finish the winners first. Hello you guys, it's been a second since I last checked in with you. I feel like I've been a little bit slow with listening to my book, but that's mostly because I feel like I'm only really listening to it in certain circumstances. So I want to try to finish it maybe today ideally. But I've been listening to The Winners and I have 2.5 hours left of the book at whatever speed I'm at. Let me see. I'm 74% of the way through the book. Something so sad just happened. I actually want to cry. Oh my god. There's like one particular type of thing that will happen sometimes in books, and honestly, like, it's one of those things that if I hear in a movie, in a TV show, in a book, whatever, that this thing happens, I actually like can't handle it, and I didn't know that this was gonna happen, and it makes me so sad. I feel like I feel the same way about this book as I was feeling before, where like it's such an interesting book because like it's kind of about everything and nothing all at once. Like, you're truly just following these characters, and so many of them have so many sad things happening. The fact that I'm like nearly 75% of the way through the book makes me feel like in order to wrap this up, so many sad things are about to happen, and I just don't know how all of that is going to play out. So that's the update on this book. I'm very excited to see how he ends the series because it's such a powerful series, and just I appreciate that when something bad happens with any of our characters, he will just like call it out. Like, he'll call it by its name, and I think that there's a lot of stories that will tiptoe around what happens, and I really appreciate that he does that. So it's making me sad, but I'm really enjoying the book. And again, I will say it for the millionth time, I think I'm so glad that I decided to listen to this one as an audiobook. I don't think I would have liked this as much if I would have read it physically. So highly recommend the audiobook, and I'll update you guys when I end up finishing it. And I probably will cry at some point. Like, already I feel like there's something tense that's going to happen, and it's making me very nervous. We shall see. It's gonna be an interesting one to finish. I'm very nervous. Hello you guys, welcome back. It's been a second because I think I was getting into a little bit of a slump, I'm not gonna lie. I ended up finishing The Winners and I really liked it, and I think I'm rating it 4 stars. I did read in between My Husband's Wife because I just needed something that was fast paced. I think it was good, but you guys have probably already seen my thoughts in another vlog, so I'm not gonna get too deep into that one. I did want to tell you a little bit about The Winners because I really enjoyed it. I already miss everybody that's in Beartown, and the way that it ended, like, honestly, I knew that it was gonna end in such a sad way, but I kind of wasn't prepared for the way that it ended, and I was like pretty heartbroken. Like, this is something that I could see myself revisiting and like rereading, but the way that it ended was just like, yeah, it was just heartbreaking. And I think now knowing what happens, reading it again could be interesting. Like, it's not something that I would do right now, but I could see myself passively listening to the books in order again in the future. So really enjoyed it. I also really feel like there's something about Frederick Bachman's writing where he just like gets it. He accurately talks about the dynamic between parents and children, and like when people are experiencing things and why kids don't go to their parents, and like what can happen and what repercussions can occur from all of these different scenarios. I don't know what he's gone through in his life or like what his children have gone through in their lives, but I feel like Frederick Bachman really gets the child's perspective, which is very unique, because sometimes you'll read a story from like, I don't know, a high school perspective, and it feels very like this is what adults think high school is like. I don't know if it's because Frederick Bachman also makes his books feel time agnostic. Like, it just feels like there's no specific, like that book could have taken place in the 80s, it could have taken place in the 2000s, it could have taken place in the 2020s. Like, there's not really an indicator, and it's more about like socially what's happening. Because of that, I think he strips away pieces of like, oh, this is how Gen Z probably acts being in high school, which I think is a mistake that a lot of people make when trying to write younger characters. But he just like gets it. It's just so fascinating. I'm obsessed with his writing. I want to read more of his books. I will never not think about those characters, and honestly, I just feel like they're my friends. Like, he really makes these characters feel like real people. Anyway, enough about Beartown and The Winners, but I will miss them. I wanted to tell you guys about the next book that I'm gonna read, which I'm very excited for, and I'm really hoping that this one, like, I feel like I've been getting a lot of good reviews on like Goodreads and stuff like that. Everyone who's talked about this book has really enjoyed it, but I'm going to be reading Yesteryear. So thank you guys for choosing this one, because I didn't fully know what this one was about when I put it on the list. You guys chose this one of all books, and I was like, okay, now I have to go look into what it is, and it sounds so interesting. I think, is this her debut debut novel? Yeah, this is her debut novel, which is wild. Anyway, I think what it's mostly about is this influencer who is like a trad wife influencer, and then she gets sent back to the 1800s and like has to actually be a trad wife essentially. But I think it has some like thrillery elements to it, which is going to be kind of exciting and fun. I just feel like the concept is going to be so fun and so good and so unique. So we will read that today and we'll see how much we get through over the course of the next few days. I would really like to finish this before we go on vacation, which is next Tuesday. So I have a week and like 2 days to read this book, and I think that that's perfect. So I am gonna go do a workout first so that I can get that out of the way today because we have Mother's Day plans, and then we will get into this book and I will update you guys once I start and all of my thoughts about it. Good morning, you guys. I just started yesteryear and I'm only like just past the 10% mark, but so far it's really good. It starts with a past chapter that basically goes through who our character is, and you can already tell that there's like some weird things about her, or like maybe just like weird things about her life. Our main character, Natalie, she is a trad wife and she's living on a farm and she does social media and she like, you know, really sells her life and her children's life, her husband's life, like all of these things. But you can already tell that there's things that like, I can't tell if it's an interview or like what. I mean, it must be an interview, but there's like certain questions that keep coming up, like, oh, I didn't know that you went to Target, or do your kids like being filmed? Just like little things like that I feel like, I don't know, social media people in general who have this persona get questions about too. It's kind of giving like family channel vibes, but like, yeah, like on a farm. And there's just enough like other weird stuff that clearly she's not filming. Like, for example, there's a scene where she has to refilm something because somebody trips over something, and she has a lot of help and ranch hands and all of this stuff because realistically she is not doing the work. So it's very interesting so far. And already we've jumped into, that was like the first chapter. First chapter is pretty long. It's like an hour long of reading, at least for me. It's like 40 pages. But then we jump into the next set of chapters. It goes the past and then the present, and present is part 2 and has its majority of the book. And then part 3 is the future, and then there's an epilogue. So I'm now in the present. She basically wakes up and she's like, wait, this isn't my home. These aren't my children. And we're in that side of the story already. And I really appreciate that the way that the first chapter goes is they add so much questioning to like this woman's life and who she is and all of these things. So I already am like not really sure of who she actually is. Like I almost get like the social media persona of her with like a few additional pieces of like how she's actually thinking in the back of her head. So I'm really liking how it's written and I'm excited to get into it some more. Those are really all the thoughts that I have so far on this because I'm only 10% of the way through, but it's also a really quick read. And even if there's a longer chapter, there's a lot of breaks within the chapter. So I feel like it's still a book where you could like pause if you have to. But yeah, so far I'm really liking it and I'm excited to continue to read. Hello you guys, I am reading on Ryan's books right now, so I actually don't have the book cover. I have this adorable picture of P instead, but I'm currently reading Yesteryear. I am on part 2, chapter 13, and I've officially made it 100 pages into the book. That means I am roughly just past a quarter of the way through because this book is about 400-ish pages or just under. It's interesting because I can't decide if we have an unreliable narrator, or this is super weird, but like there's one part in particular that I noticed. At some point they say something about going upstairs, and then at another point they say that they have a 1-story house. So I'm like, either for some reason that didn't get caught in editing, or we have an unreliable narrator and I don't know which one it is yet. So we'll see. So far I'm really liking this book a lot. I feel like it's the perfect mix of everything that I could have imagined. It kind of goes back and forth. So the very first part starts with our main character who's an influencer. She lives on this farm. She has like this perfect life that she posts about and this whole thing. But throughout that part, you can tell that like weird things, or like her life is not what she posts about online. Obviously, like there's just like other things about her life and we just don't really know about those things yet. And then it goes into this set of chapters that are like basically our main character having gone back into the 1800s, except there's other pieces sprinkled throughout that. So it talks about our main
character, her name is Natalie. I keep calling her our main character, but her name is Natalie. It talks about Natalie going to college and like her experience in college and her roommate and like all of the backstory with Natalie, which I think is so important to the story and who Natalie is. So that's been really interesting. And then it obviously goes into the 1800s and like what she's experiencing going back in time to that timeline essentially. So we're kind of like dealing with multiple timelines for the same character and like really learning everything that she's going through. There's an air of eeriness in this book, and it's not necessarily a thriller per se, but it's like just weird and like things are strange. So I don't know where we're going with this, but I'm very, very intrigued. And I do feel like the first part was just like one big long chapter, so it was a little bit longer. But ever since then, every single chapter has been 10 minutes or less. And like most of those chapters, I would say are about 5-ish minutes. So very, very fast paced. And again, that's for someone like myself who reads a little bit slower. So for anyone who reads faster, it's gonna be like a 2 or 3 minute chapter on average. So I feel like so far I've been really liking the book. I've been liking the pacing. I'm always so amazed when there's like a newer concept like this book and it's coming from an author who's never written a book before. So I'm excited and just want to keep reading. I feel like this is a book that has actually been making me want to read over watch TV, which is a nice change of pace in comparison to the last 2 books that we read in this video. So excited to continue, and I will continue to give you guys my updates.
Good morning, you guys. Today is Sunday and I wanted to update you on my reading. I'm really enjoying this book. I'm officially 50% of the way through and I'm on chapter 28. I have about 5-ish hours left of the book. I'm almost at page 200. I am going to try to focus in on reading today, like a good majority. I have a couple of other things that I have to prep, but that's basically where I'm at. The story is interesting. It's still going between all of these different timelines, like before our main character Natalie got famous. I guess we haven't really touched too much on like post fame, but then also the 1800s. So it's like kind of transitioning between all of these, like leading up to what happened within her life in like the modern day, and then also how she's living her life in the 1800s. And her life is so intriguing. Like I feel like I would think of her as a person who has always been popular, especially just because like weirdly that's my thought of people in social media. Like I don't know why that is, but for some reason, because so many of these people are like the it person and like they're the people who set the trends, it makes me feel like they're the person in high school or college who would have been like ultra popular, like I don't know, been in the it crowd even then. But actually Natalie has had a pretty rough life just growing up and like has always been religious, which I thought that was just like something that was a persona for social media, but turns out she has always been religious. Although it's interesting because I can't tell if she actually is religious or if she's like it's another piece of just like this is how I'm supposed to be. Like I feel like we know Natalie so well and at the same time we have no idea who this person is, which is a very interesting place to be with one of your main characters. So I've been really enjoying it and I'm going to continue reading today, like I said, hopefully finish. So I'll give you all of my thoughts once we get there. And if anything crazy happens along the way, I will definitely let you guys know, but really liking it. The eerie vibe is still there. I would say it's less of a thriller and more just like kind of weird and eerie. So let's get back to reading. We're going to take P on a little adventure, but aside from that, really my main plan is to read and then again do a couple of other things to prep for the road trip. So I'm very excited and I'll update you guys along the way. Hello you guys, I have a very different background than normal, but I wanted to update you guys because I just finished yesteryear. I'm on vacation right now, but I had to tell you guys about what my thoughts were. So I am not sure what I'm rating this. I put 3 on Goodreads, but it's honestly between like a 3 and a 4. I feel like from the very beginning, this couple, Natalie and Caleb, they really reminded me of Ballerina Farms. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but it's basically this couple online and they have a farm and they kind of like do the whole home homesteading thing. Daniel and Hannah are that's like the real life couple, and Hannah was a ballerina and Daniel's father is like super, super rich. He owns like multiple airlines. Anyway, it's just like I could not get that couple out of my head, especially because like there's just like a lot of controversy about that couple online. If you guys are interested, look them up. But the whole time I just kept thinking about them and like kept thinking about their controversy, and I don't know, just it kept making me think of them. I feel like the beginning of the book, it started like with these really interesting kind of eerie vibes, and then it slowly just kind of got to a point where it felt almost like repetitive, and it felt like I was kind of ready for the next thing from the very get-go. Like the first piece of the book, you're in the present time and you like are learning about who Natalie is, but then it very quickly jumps into the 1800s, and it's kind of confusing because you still don't really know why or like what's happening. And there's like little pieces where like she finds something on the farm that like tells her that like something is up, and so that kind of like hooks you in again, but then it gets repetitive again. So I don't know, I feel like around 70% is where I was like, all right, we can move on from this. But it eventually got good again, but I think that like, you know, 25% chunk, because the last 5% was really good, so that like 25% chunk between 70 and the last 5% just could have been wrapped up a little bit faster, or maybe the book could have just been shorter. So I feel like I was starting to lose a little bit of interest. Overall, I think that the book is so unique and very different, something that I haven't heard of before. The twist on this book was so different from what I was expecting. Like I don't know what I was expecting, I guess, but this was not what I was thinking it was going to go, or like the direction it was going to go in. So I did like it, but I think that for what the book was set up to be, or like what the like short synopsis of the book was, I feel like, I don't know, maybe we could have, I don't know, maybe I feel a little like mildly disappointed by the twist, but also like I'm not sure. I think I'm still like developing my feelings. But anyway, overall, I feel like with Natalie as a character, I like felt so bad for her and also hate her simultaneously. Like she's the worst, and also I feel like she's been heavily abused, and I just like feel for her. I also was reading the author note, and it was very interesting. I don't like know what the author's ties are to like Hollywood, but she was saying that Anne Hathaway helped her with developing her character, and that like Amazon was there from the beginning of things, which I'm like a little confused by. I'm not sure if this book was then effectively created just so it could become a movie. So that part is not even about the book, or it is about the book, but it's not about the story. But it just threw me off because I've heard like a couple of like weird things like that happening within like the book industry these days. Is like they'll publish a book and already have the rights to the movie, and it's kind of like books are being published just so that they can be turned into movies, because like the thing right now is book to movie adaptations. Not that it hasn't always been, but like with book talk and booktube being so big, it's something that people have been like really thinking about. So anyway, overall, I think that the book was really interesting. I feel like it was very unique. The premise itself was very interesting. I really like calling into question some of these like family influencers. I feel like it's very interesting to see like what people's take is on it, and I like people calling it out, honestly. Like I don't think that we should really allow like family vlogging and things like that, and for it to not be a nonfiction book about some kid who had a terrible experience, or you know, something along those lines, and instead to be a fiction novel and still calling out that piece of the industry, I think is very interesting. Again, I feel like there's so many different dynamics, and I think that's why I still have to sit with this book a little bit more, because Natalie is also abused, but she is also an abuser. So it's just like, I don't know. It's very confusing and very weird, but very good. So I think that's the end of this video. I feel like all of these books I've been either anticipating or have been wanting to read for a really long time, and so I'm grateful that they're now off of my little checklist mentally, because they're not like hanging over my shoulders anymore. So I appreciate you guys helping me choose what books to read. I think all of them have been really good books, but not like 5-star, oh my god books. But that's also okay. I think that not every single book needs to be a 5-star, and that's what makes those 5 stars feel so much more special. So I've enjoyed my time and getting a chance to read all of these books. So thank you guys for helping me choose. Thank you guys for being here and watching. I appreciate every single one of you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.